Nice to see you again. I am your host, Alistair. Last time we saw each other, I did mention to you that this particular property lost a lot of money for the year 2021. Let's now analyze how this property performed the year of 2022 and see if it was any better. So we were able to evict the non-paying tenants exactly on January 26, 2022. We immediately went to work to restore the property to adequate rental standards. And so we did that, and we were able to get it back up on the market around mid-February. So we were very, very quick. So I do have to say, lucky to have a great team on this front. And we were able to find a tenant by March 1st of 2022. But let's go over the changes, because last video I mentioned to you how the eviction moratorium and the fact that the last tenant did not pay rent for 7 months, and the fact that I literally bled so much money for this property that I was just about ready to sell. And I changed my mind because the real estate market went completely crazy and I've gained $50,000 worth of equity. So I decided to stay into the game. The main change is the rent. It went from $1,450 to now $1,850 for the year of 2022. And that's quite significant. I followed what the market was dictating and I added a little bit on top. The second change was in the lease agreement. It was imperative that I not only protected my investment, my asset, and I also needed to protect myself, my mental state, because I don't think I could have handled, at least mentally, 2 deadbeat tenants in a row. In the lease agreement, for first, I required 2 months security deposit, first and last month rent. So that is a total of $7,400 upfront. There was no year leases because I couldn't rely on the state to adequately and in a timely manner resolve any rental dispute between landlord and tenant should any arise, because they were backed up from COVID and the eviction moratorium. They were so backed up. I did not want to take the chance. Now, I totally understand that, most tenants, they don't want to do a month to month. They want to have the security of a year lease. They want to know that you're not going to just change your mind and increase the rent next month or kick them out. So I told the real estate agent that there's going to be an addendum to show them that I am willing to protect the sanctity of a year lease for as long as you don't miss a rental payment. There will only be rental increase after 12 consecutive monthly rental payments. So that right there protects the potential tenant to know that I'm not allowed to raise the rent for as long as you pay your rent on time for 12 consecutive months. I had it vetted with my lawyer, and it was a turnaround to make sure that I create a very serious barrier of entry, not only on the financial sense, but also on the moral sense. Now, if you remember, 2022 was a year where the rental market was super white hot and tenants were competing fiercely for the same piece of real estate. And it helped me out a lot. Here's why. This particular tenant was coming out of state and he really needed a place to stay. I said, great, here's the application process. You can go ahead and sign up. I told him that there are, of course, other applicants. And he replied to me with an offer that I could not refuse. 2 months security deposit, first and last month rent, plus the full month of April, May, June, July, August. That's a total upfront of $16,650 minus the security deposit, because I cannot use that, and that comes out to a total of $12,950 in terms of immediate cash. That was a super attractive offer. So I told him, I said, you know what, we're negotiating. I like what I'm hearing. You still need to be vetted, because I am not going through another deadbeat tenant, regardless of the financials. So I did vet the client, I did vet the tenant, and it was completely clean. There was no issues. He had not only the funds, but he had extremely good reviews from his previous landlord. Long story short, I did offer and extend the tenancy to that particular tenant. Now, let's see how these changes my prospect in terms of how my investment is doing for the year of 2022. So his tenancy started in March. From March all the way down to December, he paid on time $1,850. So that's 10 months. So I got $18,500. Now you factor in January, February, those 2 months of vacancies. So we're gonna factor that out. So that comes out to $14,800. For the year of 2022, there were no repairs that needed to be done. He didn't request a maintenance ticket. The place was super clean and super up to date anyway from the last eviction, because that's how I did things. There was no need, no request, no nothing, which was great, because the previous year, 2021, I was in a hole by $12,750. As you see, by having the rent increase and by having a tenant who pays on time without any difficulties, without any damages to the property, essentially a good tenant, even with a stellar performing year, I'm still paying the consequences of the eviction moratorium, which is super infuriating. Now that we understand the changes in numbers, because they are quite significant, let's dive deeper and understand how these numbers really affect the overall picture. All right, so my mortgage is $1,098.19, right? We multiply that by 12, so total in terms of expenses, mortgage-wise, is going to come out to $13,178.28, right? So with this new rent of $1,850, we're going to multiply that by 12, and then we're going to subtract that from the $13,178.28. And what do we get? We get $9,021.72. And we're going to take that number and we're going to divide it with how much money we've invested into the property itself, which comes out to $61,642.26. Now we take that 9,000, which is a profit for the year, we divide that by the 61,000 and change, and we come out with a number of 0.146. Let's just go with 14%. So that's my cash on cash return, which is 14%. So most investors would tell you, oh, for rental, we want 10%, 5 to 10%. Some people want 15%. Some people want 20%. A cash on cash return, it gives you an idea of how long it would take you for you to get the money back that you've put into the property based on the rental income. Let's just say 20%. Let's say if it was 20%, so it would take you 5 years. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100%. So it would take you 5 years to get the money you put in back into your investment. So it would take you 5 years to break even based on the cash that you're getting from the rental. And that's what cash on cash means, right? Which is an important metric, by the way, because you want to know when you're going to get your money back, right? Because money doesn't grow on trees. And just like I told you, this year the numbers are great, but when you factor in the losses for last year, it's not good. I'm still in the red. This property is still in the red for the year of 2022. It's not quite cash positive yet. When you take a bird's eye view of the performance of this asset, it's not great. It's not super stellar, especially not to my standards. Then I had to remind myself, well, there are two coins to this side, because I am a very different real estate investor. I have no intention of selling for whatever reason. So the first part of my coin is the equity aspect of it. I've done great. I've gained a ton of value. For example, the mortgage is $1,098.19, multiply that by 12, right? It comes out to $13,178.28. Of course, that factors in rental insurance, taxes, etc., etc. So just to be conservative, we're going to divide that by 2. All right, so we're going to divide that by 2. Okay, so 6,589, and we're going to add that on last year equity gain from just the market going crazy, because we gained $50,000 in equity and value of the property, right? So we're going to add that plus 90,000, and that gives us 96. I can't believe I'm adding this. That gives us 96,589.14 cents. that's the equity I just gained in like 2 years. So on the equity side, I am winning unbelievably. But on the cash flow side, it's still quite a disaster. And so definitely for the next year, for 2023, rent will have to go up because I need to make that money back. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't done so, press like. And if you haven't done so, subscribe. It really helps the channel. I appreciate you more than you know. Once again, I am your host, Alistair.